Welcome to the GSMC Fitness Podcast, the show that helps you sort through all of the trends, new and old, of the fitness world. We'll talk about yoga, running, Zumba, weightlifting, and everything in between. Whether you've got your fitness routine down to a science or you're just starting out and looking for direction, you'll find educational and entertaining information on the GSMC Fitness Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Fitness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your new host, your brand new host, actually. My name is Christian Mares, and I'm here to host the new fitness podcast for GSMC. Nice to meet you. Now, in this podcast in particular, this is the very first one, so I'm going to be talking about something, pretty much something very simple, something that we all want to achieve, and, pretty much everyone who is essentially new to fitness, or even anyone who's still in it, or really isn't new to it, wants to achieve, and that's pretty much just losing weight or just burning fat in general, which is generally most goals when it comes to fitness in general. So for that, it requires most of the time it requires going to the gym, or maybe dieting, or doing certain things in general like that. But, in these trying times of COVID, I know that's, in some cases impossible. I know it has been for me, someone who's been to the gym and gotten COVID as a result. So, trust me, I understand. So, with that said, there are three main ways to burn fat. And I'm going to tell you right after I tell you that in the next segment, I'm going to be covering how, essentially not to lose fat, what things not to do, and how you can, or how you would regress in that way. And then in my third segment, I'm going to be going over the importance of rest, the importance of mental health, and things of that nature, and why these things are just as important as, working out and all these other things. And then in my last segment, I'm going to give you guys out there, I'm going to give you your own small diet plan. It's nothing too intense. Some things may be intense for some people, but for the most part, it's not that intense at all, or at least I don't think so. And I also have 2 workouts that'll work for you as well, that you can do every day or whenever you really want to, really depending on what your schedule is. And I have an easy one for, for people who are essentially new to this. And then I have a more difficult one, or what I like to call a more standard one, to start you off with for, if that's the one that you want to choose. And, that's essentially it. So first and foremost, there are 3 main ways for you to lose fat, or for you to burn fat, however you want to say it. And I think the number one way for me right now is to diet. This is a very important way, and this is very important in general. Dieting is, I think it's more important than, going to the gym and stuff like that, but that's just my personal opinion, and this is why I'm mentioning it first. Now, dieting is, like I said, very important, and it depends on how you're dieting. It depends on your dieting efficiency, what are you eating? How are you doing this? How often are you doing it? And, generally, you kind of got to play it by ear sometimes, especially if you're new to it. You have to see how it's affecting you. Is it working for you? Is it not? Are you getting bigger? What's going on? You got to figure these things out as you go, especially for newbies. And I know I keep saying that, but if you're new to this, you really have to, learn your own body. You have to understand, essentially how you work, essentially. But with that said, you need to know what you're eating, stuff like that. Like, for instance, say you're eating way too many carbs, That's one thing I know I do a lot. I know I used to make pancakes all the time, and I used to throw down, put a lot of syrup on it. I was going overboard, and I, even knowing that carbs are what, essentially puts more weight on you and stuff like that, because essentially carbs, breads, everything in that area, pretty much, anything in the bread kind of area, pretty much just turns it or converts itself into sugar. That's essentially what happens. And, that pretty much leads me into another thing that you need to stay away from, or, at least that I would suggest that you stay away from in your journey to becoming better and losing, in losing this fat, which is sugar itself, because sugar is very dangerous, especially if you're trying to lose fat and things like that, because that's honestly the number one thing that just goes right to your hips, essentially. You know what I mean? When people say it goes straight to my hips, they're talking about that sugar. Not to mention all the other health degrading things that sugar can do to you. And I'm not sitting here telling you that all sugar is bad, like you shouldn't eat it at all. But I'm just saying that if you are going to eat sugar, if you're going to ingest sugar, even if you're on the diet, just do it in moderation. Moderation is very key, especially when it comes to dieting, because you don't want to over diet, you don't want to under diet, if that's even a word. You don't want to do that either. What you want to do is eat the right amount. Do each of these things in the correct increments. I think that's a good way to say it. Do it in correct increments so that you in the process of you learning your body, even if you are experienced, you're still getting what you need on a daily basis, or however you set your diet up. Honestly, it's up to you, depending on, again, how you are and how you understand your body. Because I don't, me just talking to you, I don't understand everyone's body type or anything. But if you understand yourself, then it's just that much easier to choose a diet, first and foremost, and then to follow it, it'll be even easier once you know how you are in like your own tendencies. Like I know, like me, I know I love. Yeah, I really debated for a second saying, do I really love sugar? Like, no, I love sugar. I love it. It's my wife. It really is. And I eat it on a daily basis. Even now, I'm in the process of cutting it out. I'm one of those people who needs to slowly cut it out, which is what I would recommend for most people. And I know that that's the one thing, or really, yeah, it's really the one thing that essentially holds me back from being on, this full effective diet plan, because we all have that one thing that holds us back, and I'm sure that's true for a lot of people. But moving on, the number 2 thing that you need to do to help burn, get rid of, do away with all the fat on your body, and that's working out. And I think that was probably one of the most obvious ones, because that's clearly an important one. It's the most effective. I wouldn't say really, along with dieting, it's the most effective, but it is really effective, and it's the most publicized way to get rid of fat. I feel like everyone here should have seen that coming, but it's true. You do need to work out. You need to put in the work to actually get rid of the fat that you're trying to get rid of. So with that said, that can consist of a lot of things. Like I said earlier, we're in these COVID times, with lockdowns. Some people have curfews. Wherever you're listening to this from, you might have a curfew. Or you might just be one of those people who just don't want to go out. You might not want to go to the gym, and I understand that, because, me having gotten COVID from the gym, I don't want to go to the gym either till like 2027. It's okay. We all get like this. But depending on what your situation is, there's different ways to complete this. There's different ways to work out, because I know, I remember, when I was in middle school, high school, I used to do a lot of calisthenics. I didn't have access to a gym and stuff like that. So a lot of times, I in my room, I would do calisthenics, stuff like that. Or even in college, when I could go to the gym, I would just go to the gym. But it really depends on you. So let's say you're new to this, you're just starting out. I would not recommend that you just go straight to the gym. Me personally, I recommend that you start off with some calisthenics. And by calisthenics, if you don't know, I mean, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, whatever, things of that nature. Basically, bottom of the barrel ground workouts. That's what calisthenics are, essentially. Army workouts. I would, even though it sounds tough, especially the way I just said it, that sounded horrible. But even though it sounds tough, I still feel like it's a better way to nudge you or introduce you into being, someone who loves fitness. So, especially rather than just going straight to a gym, hopping on an arm curling machine, end up breaking both arms. That's not what we want. So I'd rather have you, start off with doing some push-ups or something like that, and doing a workout that stems from that. But within working out, there are some things that you do need to know, like, you never want to overwork out. That's definitely a no-no. You don't want to overwork out. Like, I remember, what was it? It was a few months ago. It was sometime last year. It was about 5 or 6 months ago. It was that same time that I had gotten COVID. But before that, I had went to the gym for the first time in like months. And when I had ended up pumping weights too hard, I haven't went in a while, and I didn't even factor in that I should lower the weights and stuff like that. So I was working out really hard, and then I come back from the gym, and now I wake up the next morning actually, and my arm is super strained. I couldn't straighten my arm out, and it was absolutely terrible. I was in lots of pain. And that was from just straining myself way too hard. I had to get icy hot and all kinds of creams from the doctors, and couldn't straighten it out. It was bad. So you don't want to overwork out. Do what you can. If you can't pick up that 50-pound dumbbell, don't do it. Please, just save yourself the pain and the hassle. Just don't do it, and just lower the weight. For me, it was an ego thing. I didn't want to do that, but it's okay. Just lower the weight. It's definitely okay to do that, especially even if you were at a 50-pound dumbbell, and now you have to lower down to a 30-pound dumbbell. That's okay. Just work your way back up. And as a matter of fact, doing more defined workouts, that are clearly cared for, going all the way up, all the way down, are much better than picking up the heaviest weights and doing incorrect workouts. I'd rather have you do a 10 perfect curls with a 5-pound dumbbell than one with like a 60-pound dumbbell all day. Easily. If you're doing the workouts correctly, that's easily the most important part, especially to me. That's what I value when it comes to working out and stuff like that. And of course, you need to rest. Rest is very important as well. I'll talk about that later, but rest is very essential, especially to your growth. If growth is your goal, you definitely want to rest. Of course, growth is everyone's goal, but yes, you need to rest. You need to rest. That's definitely up there. With I probably should have even put this up here with the top 3 reasons, low key, because rest is extremely important, and that's something that I learned recently, from terrible experiences. But we can get into that later. Next up, the third thing, or the third most important thing that you need to know to lose fat, to burn it, is just consistency. Consistency is extremely important as well, because if you're not dieting and working out, on a consistent basis, then what are you doing? That's the whole point. I know it hurts sometimes. I know you want to eat, certain foods, or sometimes you're just too tired. You don't want to get out of the bed. I've been there, but if you're not consistent with it, you're not going to see any results. Consistency is the only way to see results, honestly, because, some people think that, hey, I've been doing this for 2 weeks. I'm like, 2 weeks? 2 weeks, well, you really won't see any kinds of results unless you're just built different, literally. Unless your body is just built different. You're really not going to see no results in 2 weeks. It's more like in the month range, you know what I mean? Anywhere from like 1 to 3 months, you're going to start seeing some real results. But when you see those real results, you're going to be glad that you did what you did. Trust me. So, yes, make sure you're being consistent on these things. Make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure that you have the motivation to be consistent in the first place, because that's very important. The mind space that you need to be in. You need to be in the correct mental space to say, I'm going to do this every day or every other day or whatever the schedule is. I'm going to do this many times, and I'm going to keep doing it. That mental aspect of it is definitely really important. Matter of fact, a lot of these I know I keep saying it is really important, but a lot of these points are really, really important, like the mental space and the 3 points I just named. It's just, they all correlate with each other so well, and they all have a certain amount of importance that accumulates to just being, you need all aspects of these, is what I'm trying to say. You need all of these aspects to really get the results that you want. So, with that said, when you diet, when you work out, when you're being consistent, just make sure that even within those things, that not only that you're doing those things correctly, but also that you're enjoying that. You know what I mean? You have to, because the whole point of this is so that you get, depending on whatever the goal is, but I assume that along with whatever your goal may be, or if this is even your goal, you want to enjoy yourself, or that you want the results and you want to enjoy them. So, and even while you're doing this, you can definitely enjoy doing all of these things. All of these things don't have to be tedious. They don't have to be the worst thing in the world. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're dieting, you don't have to eat a salad every 5 minutes or once, or a salad every meal. Because I know I definitely did that a few times. That was just me testing things out, seeing how different diets worked for me. That was still me testing my body out, seeing what really worked. And that was just something that really worked for me, but that might not work for you. That might make you suffer, and that's the last thing that we want. So, and I think that definitely carries on to every other category as well. With working out, if with working out as well, you don't, like I said, you never don't want to strain yourself. You want to make sure you rest. You want to make sure that, like if it hurts, lower the weight. You don't want to torture yourself. You don't want to torture yourself with these things. That's the last thing that we need. And of course, with being consistent, I know I said being consistent is very important, and that's definitely one of the more important aspects of it. But even with that, don't be afraid to take breaks. And I'm not the biggest fan of cheat days, but they are okay. I'll talk about cheat days again a little bit later, but cheat days are definitely okay. I don't condone a lot of them. Again, moderation. I don't condone you to have a cheat day every day or like super often, but they are okay, and it's all right to have them. But with that said, that's going to be it for this segment. Remember, later on, I will be talking about, in my next segment, how to not lose fat, essentially how to regress. And then after that, I'll be talking about the importance of rest as well as mental health benefits. And in my fourth and final segment, I'm going to be giving you guys a diet, or a very simple diet, and how to start you off, and 2 workouts, one very easy and the other one a pretty standard workout that you can, keep in your repertoire and you can do every other day, however often you want to do it. So keep that in mind, and we'll be right back.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast, dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
What's going on, everybody? And we are back with this next super segment. And if you weren't here for my previous segment, that was where we talked about the three most important ways, or the 3 best ways to lose fat, or the 3 most important things that you need to do to lose fat, which was dieting, working out, and consistency. You can go back and learn more about that if you missed it. And in this segment, we're going to be talking about basically how not to lose fat. We're basically the opposite of the last segment. This is what you don't do, essentially. So keep that in mind. Everything I say in this segment is what you don't do. And then in my next segment, in my third segment, I'm going to be talking about going over the importance of rest and basically the mental health benefits that you get from being a fitness person, and that you get from just working out in general and, keeping yourself healthy, because at the end of the day, it's all about you. And in my fourth and final segment, I'm gonna give you a diet plan, a very simple diet plan on how you can start yourself off, and as well as 2 workouts to go along with it. One easy and one difficult. Well, I'd say the second one more standard for people. One standard for people who think they can do that, and a simple one for people who are maybe just starting off, or who just don't, or just don't work out very often, or haven't worked out in a long time. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into this. So how not to lose fat, or just how to regress, which is what we don't want. We don't want to see you regress. We want progress. That's what we want here. So one thing that you can definitely do, or that you don't want to do, is deviating from your diet. Now, deviating from the diet is, like I said towards the end of my last segment, I brought up cheat days, and I'm not going to get into that too much now, but deviating from your diet is only bad when you're doing it. It depends on your intentions. If it's not a cheat day, where you said, hey, I'm just gonna, hey, I said I know I don't eat any sugar, but on this day I maybe I get a cookie or something like that. So, but it depends on the intention, like I just said. If it's not your cheat day, but you're still cheating anyways, and you're not telling yourself, hey, this isn't my cheat day, and I'm gonna cheat today anyways, but on my actual cheat day, I'm just gonna not cheat on that day. Like, if you're not compromising in that sort of way, and you're just saying, I'm still gonna take that cheat day regardless, even though I'm cheating today, it just depends on your intentions. If that's what you're doing, then no, that's bad. That is very, very, very bad. But even still, even if you are doing the latter of that, where where you say, I'm gonna cheat today, and it's not my cheat day, but on my actual cheat day, I'm going to essentially go along with my diet. Even that is bad in a way, or at least in my eyes. It's not bad, but it can be bad in a way, because you gotta look at it like this. The goal of this is to discipline yourself into doing this diet plan, for long periods of time, or for the rest of your life, or however long that you want to do this, or just, for an extended period of time. The goal is to be disciplined in this way. So you doing this is essentially taking the discipline factor out of it. So I definitely wouldn't recommend that, especially if you're far along into your diet, things of that nature, because after a while you'll get muscle memory from it, and it won't really be an issue like that. And another thing about that, when you're doing it and when you're deviating from the diet, you definitely don't want to look at it in a good light, especially even if you are. Like, if you are, say this is your cheat day, you never want to necessarily look at it in a good light, because it's a cheat day. I don't typically look too, I don't look too cheat days like that. That's not my thing. It could be yours, that's definitely something that you could do, but it's not my specialty. I definitely would not recommend doing cheat days. I wouldn't say that, but if you're new to it, sure. If you've been doing this for a while, then I definitely should suggest that you reconsider. Another thing, pretty much leads into what I just said. Too many cheat days. You don't want too many cheat days. You just want a few, or maybe only one, as a matter of fact. Just take one cheat day, depending on whatever it is, whether you have a cheat day on a workout, or which is what I'd essentially just call another rest day, honestly, or whether you have a cheat day on your diet. So, depending on that, just make sure that you regulate the amount of cheat days that you have. Say maybe I have a cheat day. Okay. Today, what day is it? Today's Monday. Now, say I want to have a cheat day on a Friday, and let's say, hey, I want another cheat day, because I'm hungry. Say have another one on Tuesday, make sure it stays like that. I know you want to indulge, but just make sure that you're being responsible with it. You need to have responsibility and discipline with this. Understand that this is only to make yourself better. No one else. This is literally for you. This is all about you. So in order to make yourself better, you got to be willing to take these steps, and understand that in order to get to where I need to be, this is what I got to do. And as soon as you understand that, it'll just get easier and easier from there and that point on. So next up, another thing that you don't want to do is you want to make sure that you eat the right foods. Don't be eating the wrong foods. You know what I mean? Because for different diets, different people, different workouts, you got to understand that different things work for different people. And, if I'm over here eating, I don't know, say avocados or something like that, and although they are, a healthy food to eat overall, it may not be working for my diet plan, and specifically what I'm trying to get with my diet, say I'm trying to get a certain body type or something like that, and say avocados don't help with that. You got to be aware of what each of these things do and things like that. So you got to be able to understand that and internalize that, and essentially learn that for the future. But that's a part of learning your own body, which I said in the first segment. And by the way, if you didn't watch that or listen to that, make sure you go back and listen to that. And moving on, another thing that you don't want to do is eat too much of one thing, because people have this perception that as long as you're eating healthy, that you're good. As long as I'm eating 10 apples a day and 15 oranges and repeating that process every single day, then I'm good for the rest of my life, which isn't the case, because you don't want to eat too much of one thing, and you don't want to get over nutrition, you know what I mean? And you want to spread out how you're eating, because the more variety you have, essentially the better off you are, because each vegetable, each fruit offers a different thing for you. Each fruit helps you in a different way. Each vegetable helps you in a different way. Kale helps you in a different way that celery does. Carrots help you in a different way than broccoli. So you want to get that variety. You definitely want to have a variety of nutrients that you are consuming, and of course, you don't want to undereat, or you don't want malnutrition at all, because malnutrition, we all know that's bad. You get very sick, and it's just unhealthy overall. So that's keep that in mind as well. Too much of one thing is bad, and too little of one thing can also be a bad thing as well, or just too much of nothing at all. Especially like if you're just not eating fruits or just not eating vegetables, which are a very important part of fitness, especially my outlook on fitness. Fruits and vegetables are very important in that process, especially depending on what your goal is, because I have no idea what your goals are, but if they are to lose fat, then yes, fruits and vegetables are very important in that regard. So another thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to have bad workout combinations, and by that I mean you don't want to have, again, this kind of goes in with the diet, you want to have workouts that help you with your goal, and if you and for burning fat, there's certain workouts that you want to do that aid in that, like say you're the kind of person that runs every single day. Sometimes running doesn't always help you burn fat, running does help in some cases, but sometimes it doesn't help all the time. So you need to know what works and what doesn't, so just be vigilant of that as well, and understand that not everything's going to work sometimes. And another thing that you don't want to do or that you want to do is correlate your diet and workout. Make sure that your workout and diet collide. Or I wouldn't say this is as important, but it'd be nice if you did, and it'll definitely help you get better results if your diet and your workout are correlating together, or if they're just if they go hand in hand, essentially, if you look at your diet and you look at your workout and you say, okay, so I'm eating this to help this, and I'm working out this to help this, and say what I'm eating and what I'm working out on is, I'm doing both of these things, both of these specific things in my workout and my diet to help this one specific thing. Like say I don't know, I'll just say something completely random. Like say I'm eating oranges to help my eyes. I don't even think they help your eyes, but say I'm eating oranges to help my eyes, and I'm eating oranges to help my eyes, and I'm working out I'm doing push-ups to help my eyes. You know what I mean? Correlating in that kind of way. Correlating workouts are good as well. They help you get faster and better results. So, look out for that as well. And even, especially losing weight as well. So look out for that, and, keep in mind that's always an option as well. Another thing is straining your body. You don't, like I said before, definitely don't want to strain your body, because that can only end bad. You heard how my experience ended. I couldn't even open up my arm from straining myself trying to do old workouts that I clearly can't do anymore. So you don't want to strain your body. That's always a bad thing. Literally always a bad thing. So you don't want to do that. You won't even be able to open your arms, lift your legs. If you can't move, the chances are you're not doing it right. Because it's one thing to be sore and have pains in your body, but it's a completely different thing if you just can't move, or if you're just in literal pain. Being sore and being in literal pain are two completely different things. Keep that in mind. Another thing is, you want to work out the correct way, so if I'm doing curls, if I'm doing arm curls, you want to go all the way up and all the way back down. You don't want to halfway it just because you're doing an extreme, amount of weight or anything like that. You want to do full correct workouts, so that you're getting the correct results. If you're not doing full workouts, you won't get full results. And that's essential. That's why I said earlier, if you're doing, these insane amounts of weight that you can't handle, then you just lower it, For me, it happened to me as well. It happens to the best of us. It can be an ego thing. Make sure you just lower the weight and understand that you will get there. And as you do these things on a consistent basis, you'll improve. So just make sure you're doing that, and make sure you understand that, know your limits, basically. Make sure you know your limits, because like I said before, you need to take care of your body if you want it to get better. And the first part of that is making sure that when you're attempting to improve, that you're doing it the right way. Because when you're doing it, because I can say do push-ups all day, but if you're not doing them right, you won't get the strength results that you desire. Because, if you don't know, push-ups do help with your strength, just on a side note. But if you're not doing it correctly, you won't get the results that you desire, or in that way. And the last thing that I have to speak on, as far as, what not to do, is just being lazy, And I think this happens to a lot of people, or this might even be the most popular way that, or just one of the most popular things that people do in general that ruin, their fitness goals. And that's just being lazy. Now, we all struggle with this. I've struggled with this, especially in the beginning, because you think to yourself, man, there's other things I can be doing. I can go watch a movie. I could be watching that Justice League Snyder cut. I could be, I don't know, whatever new Marvel movie comes out, Marvel over DC. But you just want to, you just want to do something else, or you just want to. You're essentially tired of what you're doing, or maybe you're not even tired. You're just like you in a way you're kind of just burnt out from what you were once doing before. Even if you were on a consistent basis doing that, at that point you're just tired of doing what you were doing. Even if you were doing it at a good pace, you just don't want to continue that process. And I think that's probably one of the biggest obstacles, just continuing the process and internalizing that it's better to just keep going and not doing that. Because there's plenty of times where I guess a better way to say it is that there's going to be a point where you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, man, I'm too sore, or I don't want to walk all the way to the gym, or drive all the way to the gym and do whatever workout that you're going to do, or say, you don't want to do whatever diet plan you're on at the time. Those times are going to come, because that's just common. It's just common that those things will arise at various points. So understand that. But at the same time, you got to realize that, the more that you do, the more you're going to get back. So as long as you keep that in mind and you respect your workout, respect your diet, respect your consistency, and keep laziness out of the picture, the more you're going to get out of it in the end. And honestly, the more satisfied you'll be in the end. So, I hope you realize that, and you can use that as you move forward while working out and while dieting and while staying consistent. So just keep that in mind. And that is going to be it. That's going to be it for this segment. Make sure you stick around for my next segment and the one after that, which is going to be the last one. In my third segment, or the next one, I'm going to be talking about the importance of rest and the mental health benefits of working out and being in the fitness field. So make sure you stick around for that. That'll be a fun one. And make sure you stick around for my last segment, which segment number 4, which is going to be where I give you your own diet plan that you can keep in your back pocket for later. When I say later, I mean like the next hour. And I'm going to be giving you 2 workout plans that you can use for that you can actually use. One is going to be very easy. The other one is going to be more standard. And the easier one's going to be for people who are maybe new to this and stuff like that. So make sure you stick around for those things. And I'm going to be right back right after these messages.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Here we are for the third segment, and where we will discuss the importance of rest and the mental health benefits of working out and things of that nature, dieting and stuff like that. Everything like that, and make sure you stick around as well for my next segment later on, where I talk about giving you guys a diet plan as well as 2 workouts, one easy, one more standard. The easier workout for people who are maybe more new to this, and the standard workout for anyone else who just thinks they can, who would just prefer a more standard workout style or anything like that. And also the diet plan is pretty much standard for everyone across the board. Some things are more difficult than others, but we'll get into that later. And essentially do what you can handle. But we'll get into that later. Here we are. So the importance of rest, which is very high. Rest is extremely important, and you want to make sure that you're getting your rest with everything that you do, especially in this. So when I say this, or just in my personal opinion, I think that you should have at least 1 to 2 days of rest, and this pertains to working out, of course. So I think that you should have at least 1 to 2 days a week of rest. I think that'll benefit you the most, and I think that that's enough to give your body the time it needs to regenerate and things like that. So make sure you're getting 1 to 2 days of rest. It doesn't really matter what day of the week it is. It could be a Monday, it could be a Friday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Sunday. It doesn't matter. So just make sure you're getting those 1 to 2 days of rest in, and that you're actually fully resting in those days. And within those rest days, don't do anything strenuous. Don't go out, flip tires, or lift cars, or whatever your workout plan is. I don't know. It could be something super crazy. Just make sure you're not doing too much on those rest days. Yeah, I mean, of course you can do, I guess I don't want to consider them strenuous things, but you can lift a box and move it to the other side of the room, but just make sure you're not out here, don't bench the box over and over. You don't want to do that. This is a day of, it's a rest day, so you want to keep it resting. So just make sure you do that, and, keep it cool, keep it easy, and don't stress yourself out too much, especially in that regard. Take yourself a nice shower, relax. Next, you can have your cheat days, but again, make sure that they are within moderation. And when I say moderation, I mean, say, today's Monday. Say I want to have a cheat day today on a Monday, for my diet I'm associating with. And, say on this cheat day, on this Monday, I want to, say I want to eat sugar, because I think that's the easiest way to explain this. Let's say I want to eat some sugar, and, say it's lunchtime, and I have 5 cookies, that's good, 5 cookies, whereas, that is, that's a lot of cookies, but at the same time, it's not too much. You're not overeating in sweets. You're not, there is no undereating in that regard, especially if you're trying to get rid of sugar, but, it's not too much, but it's okay, as long as you're not, on your cheat day, as long as you're not eating a lot, you know what I mean? As long as you don't go to a buffet and then get some Jell-O, eat that, go right back, get some more cookies, go right back, get some ice cream, and go back, pay them some more money, and eat all the rest of the sweets. That's not what you want to do. What you want to do is make sure you're doing this in moderation, so that you show that you care about your body and that you're disciplined in this as well. So you want to, I think the most important thing out of this is that you're disciplined enough to understand that this is a cheat day, but this isn't a giving up day. You're still in this. You're still on this diet. So understand that, and make sure that your cheat days are moderated by you, of course. So make sure you're doing that. I think that'll help you a lot in your journey to being whatever you want to become, as far as losing weight and getting rid of that fat on your body. Next up, make sure that you try to incorporate a nap once a day. I think naps are very important. I just took one a few hours ago. Depending on whatever your schedule is, I don't know. You might be the kind of person that has a super busy schedule, and you might not be able to, you might not be the kind of person that can add in a nap every day, and that's completely understandable. But just, try to get some kind of rest, even if it's something as simple as, just getting 10 minutes of shut-eye or something like that. You want your rest, because every single time you sleep, you're just giving your muscles, more chances to rest, things of that nature, repair. You're giving your body a chance to absorb all of the nutrient juices of whatever you ate/drank. I have no idea, but napping is really important, it sounds hilarious, honestly, but it's really important. You want to get your naps in. I don't care if you're taking 2 naps a day. That's cool too. I like napping. Just make sure you're getting your rest. Your rest is extremely important. Make sure you're getting that rest on a daily basis. Like I said before, it doesn't matter how long it is or how long it lasts or anything like that. Just make sure you're getting it. Understand that. And as far as a recommendation from me, I'd say on average, I would recommend, like I said, it doesn't matter how long it is, but I would recommend that you get at least anywhere from around, I'd say about, at least like an hour and 30 minutes. That'd be a recommendation for me, an hour and 30-minute nap. That's a nice, good nap. That's enough time to wake up at the 45-minute mark, not know where you're at, and then go back to sleep again. I like that. So yeah, a good 30-minute nap. I think that's a nice, good one. But like I said, whatever you can get, take it. Especially on those rest days. On those rest days, make sure especially on those rest days. You can nap on the days that you're on your diet and, working out as well. But especially on those rest days, make sure you're actually getting literal rest as well. So keep that in mind and make sure you're doing that. That's extremely, 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 extremely important. Next up, working out, dieting, being consistent, being disciplined in that regard. I think and this is probably what I think is one of the best things that it can do for you, is that it helps you mentally. When you're doing these things and you're doing them in a good way, you start to think of yourself. One thing that it does is that it gives you a higher confidence boost. It gives you a huge confidence boost. I can remember the times that I wasn't working out. Not saying that I was just down in the dumps, depressed or anything like that, but I can tell the difference from before I worked out and after I started working out, and I was definitely much happier when I was. Even recently, I wasn't working out, because of the whole COVID thing, gyms not being open, or just me not wanting to go to gyms and stuff like that. Laziness was definitely a factor in that, which I had to overcome, and even now I'm still overcoming some of those things, and it all comes down to your mental wellness. And working out and doing these things will help you. It'll give you a huge confidence boost. You'll go around walking around like you essentially like you haven't before. You can do things that you haven't. Because one thing that I like to say a lot, that I just like to mention to a lot of people, is that people are going to notice what you've been doing. People are going to notice that you've been working out, that you've been putting in work, and that alone will give you a confidence boost. And not only that, you're going to learn to love yourself a lot more, because especially today, today in 2021, something that I see people promoting a lot is self-love. And if you want to love yourself, working out can help. Working out, dieting, and things like that, it can help. Not saying that you need it to love yourself, but it'll definitely help. And especially if you're someone who doesn't, I definitely recommend that as an avenue. Maybe do some of these things, and it'll definitely do something. Whether it helps you love yourself more or gives you a confidence boost, it'll do something for you. I can promise you that. And you will feel good. You will feel good doing these things, and you will appreciate yourself more. Whether you've done things in your life that you maybe not too proud of or anything like that, or maybe maybe there's some things that's happened, maybe some relationships that were ruined or anything or something like that were that could be proven as your fault. I'd say that doing this can because again, especially the way that most people do it, when you're doing working out, dieting, being consistent, most of these things you're doing on your own. There's not people around to tell you what to do or tell you to do this, that. Most of the time it's just you on your own. So, honestly, I can say that it's definitely you getting closer to yourself, if that makes any sense. So, you can see how, self-love would play a factor, correct? So, I would definitely recommend this, especially if you're another person, even if you're depressed, if you're in a stage of depression, there's all kinds of ways to get out of that. and all kinds of things to do. I know there's even people that say vacuuming helps them get rid of stress and stuff like that. But yeah, doing these things can definitely help you do any single one of those things. And another thing that'll help, or that doing things will help you do, is it'll definitely, for sure, and I can say this confidently for about at least 90% of people, because especially if you're doing it consistently, it'll definitely give you a sense of accomplishment, which is easily the most satisfying of the last three that I named. That sense of accomplishment makes all the physical and eating stress that you just endured within the however long you were doing it. It makes it all worth it, because you got to understand that this is essentially a fight. You're fighting through each and every single last one of these days. So when you finally make it to the finish line, you're thinking to yourself, man, I really just did that. And then you look at yourself, you're like, man, I just did this too. And that sense, and that feeling right there, that accomplishing feeling that you get, it can't be replicated. It can't. And then when you go to sleep that night, when you're laying in bed, you're like, I can't even describe how great that feeling is. When you're working out, you're eating on your nice diet, and you're working to make things better. And just doing these things is helping make you better, or just getting better as a person overall in this way. I can't even tell you how good that feeling is, especially when you're laying in bed at night, knowing that you just did everything like that, especially after a nice shower or bath, whatever floats your boat. It's all great. I'm telling you that right now. Trust me, it's an amazing feeling in that, and it's definitely accomplishing. It's definitely an accomplishment. Definitely nothing to sneeze at, because I don't know. I can't describe it anymore. That sense of discipline, the sense that you knowing that you can and that you are disciplining yourself, is also really good as well. Because you just know that you have this feeling that you're in control, that you know what you're doing. And not only that you're doing those things, the most important thing is that you did it. You yourself, you did it. You told yourself to get up and do this. You told yourself to work out and eat whatever you're eating, I think that's easily one of the more gratifying parts about this. The confidence. The combination of, having that confidence in yourself now. Whether I don't know, depending on whatever your goal is, whether you just wanted a beach body or something, whether you wanted to have that, having the confidence in that, and then, or you just loving yourself even more, if that's what you're after. And then, of course, the sense of accomplishment. That combination is just, it works together in such tandem. And trust me, trust and believe, if these are things that you want, these are things that you will have. If you do the first three things I named in my first segment, if you can do those three things and do them the right way, trust me, they will find you. You don't got to find it. Just do what you need to do, and those things will find you. I absolutely promise. Just make sure you're doing it right, please. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this off. And just keep in mind, in my next segment, which will be here very soon, right up next, we're going to be I'm going to be giving you a diet plan that you can, have in your back pocket, that you can essentially use every day, or however often that you want to use that diet. Some things are more difficult than others. I'll get into that later. And there's also a workout plan that goes along with it. One is easier. Another one is slightly more difficult, but I call that one the standard one. I'll get to that later as well, but you can do that workout every single day, or however often that you want to do it, depending on whatever your schedule is. And I'll be back to give you that right after these messages.
The GSMC Life and Happiness podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Here we are for the final segment. Here we are to discuss our diet plan and the 2 workout plans that I promised that I was going to give you earlier. So here we are, and I appreciate you guys for listening this long and making it to this. Now here is your reward. You absolutely deserve it for staying here this long. So the first thing that I was gonna get into was the diet plan that you can use. Now, I would, if you asked me, I would say that I would use this diet plan about, I don't know, especially if you're just starting off. I'd say maybe like, I don't know, I'd try it maybe 3 days a week. I think that's fair, honestly. And then if you're not new to any of these things, I'd say maybe I'd attempt it on a first attempt. Well, first of all, on a first attempt, I'd attempt it, honestly, 7 days a week just to see how it feels. But being fair to everyone, I'd attempt it for first 5 days. I'd say first 5 days if you're used to working dieting, or maybe you just haven't done it in a while. But yeah, essentially, here's the diet plan that I came up with. I think it's pretty standard. I think it can work for a lot of people, and I don't think it's too difficult, but I also think that it does have some difficult aspects to it. That's, some people will have a harder time gravitating towards and, keeping consistent with. So the first thing is to drink only water. That is the number one thing. Oh, by the way, if you don't, make sure you grab a pen or something like that. Make sure you get a pen and paper so you can write this down. Or, matter of fact, or just clip this or something. But first and foremost, make sure you drink only water. That's really important because water is really good in general. But when you're drinking only water, it helps a lot, especially in the dieting process. And when I say drinking only water, I literally mean just that. So no soft drinks, no High C Orange, no anything really. Except you can. I do believe that you can drink freshly squeezed juices. Like if you have a blender or a juicer or something like that. I do recommend that as well, along with drinking water. So that's cool. You can do that. That is absolutely fine. If you want to do that, I recommend that actually, because I'm the kind of person that actually enjoy drinking freshly juiced juices and well, I'm not so much a fan of blenders and stuff like that, but if you have a juicer or anything like that, yeah, go for it. That's absolutely fine. And as long as you're drinking water as well, of course. And don't add anything to the fruit juices that you're juicing or squeezing or whatever, however you're doing it. Yeah, just make sure you're doing that only water, or you can add that extension as well. That's fine, absolutely fine. Now, number 2 is to eat one salad every single day. What I said earlier that I used to eat a salad every meal, like a salad at breakfast, salad at lunch, salad at dinner. But for this, I'll say that you can eat one salad a day. I think that's absolutely fine. I think that's fair. I actually think that's kind of difficult as well, especially starting off. But if you get one salad in a day, I think that'll definitely help you out, especially getting those vegetables in you. And salads help a lot, especially depending on what you're putting in your salad. whether it's just lettuce and dressing, or whether you have lettuce, carrots, and tomatoes, and kale, and whatever else you put in a salad, make yourself a salad. Get some greens in. Make yourself a salad once a day. That'll help. That'll do a lot for you. I promise you that. That'll definitely do a lot for you. Now, when it comes to dressing, it doesn't really matter to me. When I used to eat salads, I started to fall in the camp of I used to eat salads with no dressing, but that's actually really difficult, and I admit that to a certain extent. That's really difficult. Especially with no dressing, especially if that's something that you don't do very often. It's a ride. I'll say that for sure. It's definitely not easy. So if that's something that you're not used to, just go ahead and throw that French dressing on it. But that Italian, whatever. You know what I mean? I don't know about ranch. I'm not a ranch guy. If you like ranch, hey, that's all you. But don't ever expect me to ever put ranch on anything I'm ever eating. Believe that. Next up is to cut down on the carbs. Like I mentioned that earlier, that I used to eat a lot of carbs, a lot of pancakes and stuff like that. You don't want to eat carbs. Or I don't want to say you don't want to eat carbs. You just don't want to eat a lot of carbs. So make sure you eat your carbs, and definitely in moderation. And because carbs can easily transfer into sugars. And if we're trying to not eat sugar, then, come on. That's a direct contradiction. And that pretty much leads directly into my next one. Cut out sugar completely. Because the last thing you want to do is to have a high intake of sugar, because, that can obviously lead to other medical issues, whether it's, high blood pressure. Diabetes. I'm sorry. I don't know why I had a complete brain fart right there, but whether it leads to diabetes or anything else, you want to make sure that you're cutting out sugar and eating as healthily as possible. So, and we already discussed just how dangerous sugar was earlier. So, just make sure that you regulate how much sugar you're eating, and it's okay if you can cut it out completely, but if you're the kind of person that eats a lot of it like I was, I'm also okay with you slowly cutting it out as well. That's also okay. Now, moving on. Now, this one it's a little more intricate, but it also just depends on what you're currently doing. And this is to cut down meat, but this is only if it's a high intake of meat. And if you're eating red meat, cut it out completely. And by red meats, those are mostly say hot dogs, ribs, bacon, stuff like that. Those are, sausage, matter of fact, all those things come from pigs, those are red meats, you know what I mean? Those are the red meats, stay away from those kinds of things. Or, if you can, cut them out of your diet completely. And, it's okay to eat meat, meat is okay. I'm not asking you to be a vegan, but because you need protein, you can get that from nuts as well, and, of course, meat. But just make sure you're not overdoing it with meat. You know what I mean? Make sure you're not eating super high intakes of meat every day. Like, you shouldn't be eating a steak, a steak and chicken every single day. We're not bodybuilders here. So just make sure you regulate your meat intake as well. That's also important. It's not as bad as something like sugar, but it can be, especially if it's red meat. Red meat can have its damages as well. I'll even talk about red meat in the future as well. Red meat definitely has its dangers. And the last thing I need you to do is eat one fruit every day. Make sure you're eating a fruit every day, whether that's in the morning, at lunch, or at night. It doesn't really matter to me. Just make sure you're eating one fruit a day. It doesn't matter what fruit it is either. I just prefer that you eat a fruit every day. It could be an apple, orange, avocado. I don't know if it's a fruit or not. I just know that I mentioned it earlier, and I was talking bad about avocados. If you want one, go ahead and eat it. Actually, I really don't know if it's a fruit or not. It might be. I have no idea. I'm gonna have to look that up later, and I'll talk about it later. But make sure you're getting a fruit every single day. Make sure you're getting It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't really matter what fruit it is. Different fruits, of course, do different things for you. So, keep that in mind as well. And, go crazy with it. It doesn't really matter to me. Now, next up, here are the two workouts that I promised you. Now, the first workout that I'm going to mention is the normal standard workout. And this one is for people who just want to do a normal standard basic strength training workout that'll pretty much do full body of whatever you're trying to do. So, here it is. Number one. I'm going to go through this one by one, pretty slowly, just in case you're writing this down or whatever. And I'll go through each one, and how it benefits you. I'll go through both workouts first, though. So this is workout 1, the standard workout. Now, number 1, do 20 push-ups 4 times. Again, that's 20 push-ups 4 times, and you could add a rest break in there. I'd say about 30 seconds to a minute. All right, you got that? So next up, number 2 is 20 squats 4 times. And again, add a rest break right after that. Again, 30 seconds to a minute. It doesn't really matter to me. Anywhere within that range is honestly fine. And within each of these, I know I say 4 times, within each of those times, you can also have a rest break in there if you want to. I'd recommend about 30 seconds. So keep that in mind as well. And number 3 is 25 sit-ups 2 times. 25 sit-ups 2 times. Add a rest break after that, 30 seconds to a minute, of course. And within, in between that one, you can have about a 30-second rest break. I think that's fair. Or, this is core, more difficult. I'd say a minute. I'd say about a minute, for sure. Definitely about a minute, because core is more difficult than the rest. But that's just me. But, yes. And number 4, after that, 25 calf raisers 4 times. If you don't know what calf raisers are, you get on your tippy toes. Basically, stand up, stand straight up, go up to a wall, tree, wherever you are, and lean up against that wall / tree, and go on your tippy toes, all the way up on your tippy toes, like you're trying to get taller, like you want to be 6 feet, and go back down. Up and down, do that 25 times. Up and down is 1 time, do that 25 times. Do that 4 times. And yes, go ahead and add a rest break within there. And the final thing that I need you to do is go for a run. This is optional. It doesn't, you don't have to do this, but I suggest that you go for a run, however long you want to run. Doesn't matter. You can run for 8 miles. I really don't care. It could be a marathon for all, or, it could be something small, like just do one run through the neighborhood, however big your neighborhood is. Or if you don't live in a neighborhood, wherever you live, down the block, it doesn't matter. Just go ahead and add that in there. It's very optional, but yes, add a run in there at number 5. Now for the easy workout, I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because it's essentially, as I said, the same as the one I just did, but just shorter. So this is the easy workout. Number 1, 10 push-ups 4 times. Number 2, 10 squats 4 times. Number 3, 15 sit-ups 2 times. Number 4, 15 calf raisers 4 times. And of course, the same rules apply, with the rest, within each of those times, like the 4 times, 2 times, within each of those times, you can add a 30-second break, and except with the sit-ups, you can add a minute break. And then in between, like say 10 push-ups and 10 squats, in between each of the numbers 1 through 4, you can add a 30-second to a minute rest break. And at the number 5, of course, again, it's a run. Like I said, it's the same workout as the one above, but, just, slightly toned down. But yeah, the run is optional. You don't have to run, but, I'd recommend that you run. Running definitely helps with some things, and it's always good to get some cardio in as well. Although that's definitely not a rule that I followed throughout the years. I'd recommend it though, for sure. But yes, these are the things. And now, depending on, it doesn't matter which one you decide to do, the easy or the more difficult workout, whichever one you end up choosing to do, make sure you do this consistently, okay? That's easily the most important part about doing these workouts. Doing the workout and the diet one time, it really I hate to put it like this, but it means nothing. Absolutely nothing. Other than you getting that first step, being on track to doing it consistently. But it means nothing if you're not consistent with it. Absolutely nothing. And I don't want it to mean nothing. I want you to reach your goal. So, honestly, if you want to burn that fat, you want to get better, you want to get on track to doing that, make sure that you do this consistently. It's easily the most important part, which is why I named it last in my first segment. But yes, make sure you're doing all these things. Again, the run is optional. And I realize that in the diet, some things are more difficult than others, and that's okay. Like maybe drinking only water is really difficult. Maybe eating a salad a day is difficult. Maybe cutting out sugar is really difficult, like it was for me. I absolutely understand completely. So, again, it's all up to you, depending on what you do. And, it's okay. It's okay to take rest days. It's okay for all of these different things. Just make sure that you are doing your best with it, honestly. Make sure you're disciplining yourself. Make sure that you understand yourself so that in the future you can get better at these things, honestly. So, because it's only up, especially if you're new with this. It's only up from where you're at. Understand that. And you doing it the first time only is you taking the first step to getting better in that way. Again, like I said, make sure you're consistent, but, the first step is also important, not to undermine that first step, because keep in mind, it's easily, definitely one of the most important things. Now, that was it for today. That was everything that I wanted to let you guys know. So make sure you, keep all those things in mind. If you just came in on this segment, go back and, listen to the first ones as well, because there's some really good stuff in there. But again, thank you for listening to the GSMC Fitness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask you, to please remember to subscribe to the show and to, write a nice review. That really helps us. You know what I mean? Help us out. Also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, that would be really nice. Follow me on Twitter as well. At GSMC _ fitness podcast, GSMC _ fitness. I'm sorry. So, make sure you follow me on Twitter. And that's essentially it for you and it for me as well. Make sure you do these things consistently. And that'll be all. Have a nice day. Catch you later.
You've been listening to the GSMC Fitness Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Google Play, and any app where you listen to podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news, we cover it all. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook and listen to these podcasts on YouTube. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's podcast.